What's up? What is the VC here coming back at you with another? It's about anything and everything, and nothing's off the table. And there's always so much to talk about, that I'm just trying to bring common sense to things that we're seeing out there, all the bullshiz and tomfoolery. I figure, hey, you know what? Let's talk about it and bring some common sense to all that, rein it all in. Alright, so there's a lot to talk about as always, so I think we're just going to go around the horn today and go about it, just like that. But before we do, you can always do me a favor and follow me on the VC here on Rumble or the VC here on YouTube, whichever floats your boat. I gladly appreciate it, or even both, even better. So thank you for your support, and I'll go forward here with this. So let's see here. We're going to go around the horn, and this is where we're going to stop by first. All right, let's talk about your boy, Gavin Newsom here. This dimwit idiot called the governor of California. Moronic and so full of himself, So it says here, it makes a stunning confession on the state of the Democratic Party. So let's see what he says here.
Why do I use Navam?
No one asked
It's probably
you.
true, too.
It makes managing business
All right, California Governor Gavin Newsom is airing out some of his concerns with the future of the Democrat Party after their election losses this past November. In a brand new interview with The Hill, he says, quote, "We have not done a forensic of what just went wrong. I don't know what the party is. I'm still struggling with that." Chuck DeVore is the Texas Public Policy Foundation Vice President and former California State Assemblyman. And he joins me now. Chuck, good morning to you. You're the perfect person to talk about this topic. And I thought it was interesting because on the same day that you have Governor Newsom concerned about the direction of the party and saying it doesn't quite have a leader yet, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett was invited on to Jimmy Kimmel's show. And here's a little bit of what she had to say.
I don't even think that it's policy. I think that people are voting on vibes. I think that people are voting for who they feel like is being honest with them, even if they don't like what they're saying.
So she says people are voting on vibes, not policy. But the point is that there are, 211 Democrats in Congress right now. And she was the one that got the invitation onto the late night show. At the same time, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's popularity is at an all-time high. So what do you think about this? Do those two things answer Gavin Newsom's question?
No.
Well, I don't think they really do. I mean, obviously, the media is attracted to the sizzle. And the reason why they're attracted to the sizzle is that when you look at actual results, you can see why they want to go with people who make headlines. Because if you look at Gavin Newsom, you look at California under his leadership, California has been essentially ground zero for the progressive experiment. And it's failed utterly under Gavin Newsom's leadership. It has the highest gasoline costs, the second highest electrical costs. It is losing population. It's hemorrhaging population in other states, especially Texas. And now Gavin Newsom is fighting President Trump over tariffs. He's suing the administration over tariffs in this redo of John C. Calhoun's nullification crisis some almost 200 years ago. And so, of course, he's at a loss because everything that the progressives have done has failed. And so then they're left with vibes. They're left with Jasmine Crockett and AOC. So you can see how he's struggling here because what they've actually tried to enact hasn't worked.
Yeah, but Chuck, what do you think about these Democrats that are now focusing on Kilmar Abrego Garcia? They're saying we don't want to talk about his character. We're just focusing on the constitutionality of his case. They think that will be a winning issue for them. It does seem like the Democrat Party right now, despite November's election results, is moving further to the left.
Right. So, again, I think they've forgotten that President Trump won on two huge issues. The first, of course, was illegal immigration and securing the border, and the second was Joe Biden's inflation. And so, of course, among voters, illegal immigration and the border has receded in their top issues as President Trump's policies have, in fact, secured the border. But this is just a way of reminding voters that under Joe Biden, you had a lawless invasion of well more than 10 million people that came across the border without rule of law, without due process, and they're living illegally in this country. And yes, there may be a mistake or two, In the case of Obrego, he was in fact legally deportable. It's just that the judge said that because of his own safety, they would prefer that he not go back to El Salvador because there was a rival gang. By the way, that rival gang has been taken out by the Salvadoran authorities.
Yeah. Well, Chuck, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We'll get back to you next time on whether or not people are in fact just voting on vibes and not policy, but we have to leave it there for now. Chuck, thank you so much for waking up. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
Yes, Gavin Newsom's garbage. Garbage. Whoops. Yeah, straight up garbage. Trash. All right, let's see what else we got going on here. I mean, we could talk about Mexico dumping raw sewage on beaches. They've been doing that forever. They just got caught doing it now. That's what it is. Just letting their drain pipe spill out into the Pacific Ocean near San Diego. So it's kind of polluting our waters. So fuck them, all right? Let's see here. What does this have to say here? Chicago. All right, going to go to woke.
Being an entrepreneur takes a toll on your family because you can't turn off your business brain when it's family time.
The city of Chicago already dealing with a massive budget gap this year of almost $1 billion. And now Mayor Brandon Johnson is warning the problem is not going away next year or even the year after.
And he's putting together a working group to investigate that ongoing crisis.
They always do that. You notice that, like, when it comes to spending on bullshit, right? They always like to form committees and groups and subgroups and you know, subcommittees and all this crap for what, you know? To come up with something, and all they're doing is just pushing additional policy forward. It's not doing anything to fix anything. Here's an example of our most recent committee. All right, they formed a fast food committee. And the fast food committee here in California is there to help determine what's the best pay rate for fast food workers. And, you know, they implemented that whole $25 an hour, which is the dumbest thing, to raise, you know, base income for fast food to that much. But I'm not trying to digress here, or I'm digressing from that. And from that, all right, that committee, you know, gets together to decide, is it worthwhile whether they're being paid out now after they do a review, and whether or not, oh, we should make a raise and raise that to $28 an hour, that sort of thing. So that's what they've been doing with these little subcommittees and all that. And all they're going to do is continue to push forward and push higher wages and all that. They're not going to sit there and say, oh, you know what, this is going to be a little bit too much. We're not going to, we're going to hold back on the raise and all that, or we're going to, you know, bring it down a little bit here. But no, they're not going to do that. They're always going to push to go higher and higher. So these groups and subcommittees don't do jack shit.
Mayor Brandon Johnson received a round of applause after signing an executive order that will launch a working group charged with investigating the city's ongoing budget issues. Besides this year's budget deficit, the mayor's office says the city is facing a projected gap of $1.12 billion next year and $1.32 billion in 2027.
And largely due to the rising personnel, pension, and contractual costs that we have. At the same time, we face unprecedented threats from the federal government.
Fiscal watchdog group called Center for Tax and Budget Accountability sees this as a solid move by the Johnson administration, stressing that the city's budget gap issues have been a problem that were created by more than one previous administration.
This is getting all the stakeholders at the table that really should be involved in trying to help inform the city resolve its long-term fiscal problems. You have the business community will be there, the labor
community. It's easy. All you got to do is look at the budget, all right? See where the overspending is happening. We all know, obviously, a lot of money is being spent on illegals. And typically the top common issues are being spent on illegals and a so-called homeless program that doesn't solve any homeless issues. And you don't even have to do that for California. You don't even have to do that for Chicago, Illinois. it's still going to be duly noted, in the driveway and all that good stuff for any other sanctuary cities across America. This budget deficits, we're going to continue forward in these, blue cities, and these subcommittee type groups and all that. It's full of crap, and all it's going to do is just make the environment more bureaucratic and BS.
The cuts are going to be
screw
deep.
That shit
the
too.
Impact on workers are going to be harsh.
Alderman Ray Lopez and other critics of the mayor say he should have put this working group together at the beginning of his administration. Alderman Lopez says the city has an ongoing spending problem right now that needs to be addressed in order to control the continuing deficit.
That's his own fiscal mismanagement on full display right now. And to say that you're going to bring some working group together when you've had aldermen try to tell you and sound the alarm for your entire tenure at this point only tells me that you're now just trying to cover your rear end because you know you cannot hide and lie any longer.
According to the executive order, this working group should have a preliminary report completed by the end of August this year.
They're just going to sit there and justify certain spending and all this other crap. Screw all that shit. Brandon Johnson's trash too, right? So that's another trash politician. Here's something that makes common sense, like right here. Let's talk about it right here.
Want the fastest working GLP-1 for half the price?
Come on, there we go.
As President Donald.
So, GOP states look to ban undocumented drivers from obtaining licenses. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Like, why should they even be getting driver's licenses in the first place? They're not actually a resident. So, I don't know, to me that's something to think about, like, why are they getting those things, except it's just a perk of the blue states. Hey, you come over here, we'll get you a license. And it's like, they're not even citizens. How are they getting a license in the United States? Alright, so yeah, don't bust me with some bullshit. This is common sense.
Donald Trump cracked down on illegal immigration. Several states are following this lead. There are 19 states that issue driver's licenses to undocumented people, and some Republican lawmakers are working to pump the brakes on that. News Nation's Brooke Schaefer joins us live with more. Brooke, what are some of the measures that lawmakers want put in place?
Well, Marky, as one immigration attorney we spoke with put it, some Republican-led states are now getting creative when it comes to immigration crackdown, now targeting driver's licenses. As you mentioned, today in more than a dozen states in the District of Columbia, you don't need to show your immigration status to get a driver's license. You need documentation to get a real ID to fly, but you don't need those same documents in these states if you just want the basic driver's license. You just need to meet other state requirements like passing a vision test. So now some states are choosing to not recognize driver's licenses issued to undocumented immigrants. Florida was the first state to do this in 2023. It's now law or in the process of becoming law in 9 Republican-led states. In New Hampshire, it's a misdemeanor if you're caught with one of these licenses twice. Some Republican lawmakers, they see these moves as a message. Senator Chris Elliott from Alabama said illegal immigrants should, quote, turn around and go somewhere else. But some Democrats and that immigration attorney we spoke with worry about what this could mean for things like tourism.
I think the thing to remember is that the ultimate impact of policies like these are to put a chilling effect on tourism and other economic initiatives in states. So if immigrants
some Democrats worry about tourism fallout.
Don't feel safe visiting the state of Florida or working construction jobs in the state of Florida, it's
80s.
Everyone in Florida who suffers, not just the would-be immigrants.
Trash.
That same attorney said that authorities will likely be using that new real ID
get
system on driver's licenses to see if someone is a citizen or in the country legally. But Marky, this comes as more and more states are joining in the Trump administration's efforts for mass deportations.
That's
Marky?
right.
All right, Brooke Schaefer, live on the story. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching, everybody.
All right. I don't know. I'm kind of hit and miss with this one. Like, I kind of like her, but I kind of don't. Like, I prefer other females versus this one. But she's all right. She's just all right to me. I don't know. Every time I look at her, there are times that she's not bad, and then there are times it's like, whatever. See, that's her right there. I don't know. I'm kind of hit and miss with her. So this one too, I'm kind of hit and miss with this one. I'm not quite sure if I would bang it or not. But yeah, common sense. Crack down on that shit. Undocumented driver's license. Get out of here. I mean, really. They're guests in the country. They don't belong here. And so that's where it's at. All right. Let's go back. Let's see here. Boom, boom, boom. I saw something else. Let me see if they still show it. This guy's a loser too. Maxwell Frost. Fuck out of here too, man. It's trash. Alright. He's just trying to just go around to just really, virtue signal and just do things, act like he's doing something, but he really isn't. Because he's trash. Alright, so yeah, this dude needs to get the fuck out of here too, man. He's trash. I'm going to just top it off with one last thing here, if I could find it. I saw the headlines on it earlier. I'm trying to see if I can find it. Look at this. Saks Fifth Avenue leaving San Francisco Union Square. Look at Schwarzenegger back then. 1969. Look at Schwarzenegger. Woo. Big dude. Damn it. I don't see it. All of a sudden, I can't find it now. I saw it. Maybe it was on this page. Alright. Man, where the hell is it at? I just saw it. Oh, there we go. There we go. Let's talk about it here. We're going to go back to California and their piece of shit.
You guys know how I think he's doing, but
piece of shit high-speed rail project.
Democrats and other critics say that he's going too far too fast, and they are criticizing.
Well, California has long planned to build a high-speed rail from the Bay Area to Los Angeles, with the goal of transporting people across the state in just under 3 hours. Voters approved funding for the project back in 2008. But tonight, as the project continues to face challenges with costs and timelines, lawmakers are questioning its future. ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen takes us to the Central Valley, where high-speed rail construction
they completely dropped the ball on the intent.
We're at the Hanford Viaduct,
how they do
which
this
is our longest structure actually for the Central Valley. 6,300-foot structure, and it connects into our future high-speed rail Kings to Larry Regional Station.
It's a vision decades in the making. California's
controversial
not one track
has been laid yet.
Northern and Southern California, and has first brought a new era to the Central Valley. It's where the High-Speed Rail Authority is currently constructing track for the bullet train.
So we started this structure in 2020. This is our longest structure for the Central Valley.
This is the Hanford Viaduct, about an hour south of Fresno. High-speed rail officials have a goal of completing this portion and all of construction in the Central Valley by 2026, because eventually this will be an important part of their test track.
We have to test and do dynamic testing for at least 2 or 3 years before we can start any operations. That's to test for our rolling stock, our track and systems, all of the different maintenance of way facilities that we'll have throughout the valley. All of those things, communications, dispatch, all of the things that you need for an operational train system.
But all of this progress comes with a hefty price tag and plenty of criticism. High-speed rail officials say the entire project from San Francisco to Los Angeles was supposed to be done by 2020 and cost $45 billion. But the estimated completion date to finish just the Central Valley portion is in the early 2030s and is estimated to be between $30 and $33 billion to connect Bakersfield and Merced.
Just think about that. Let's go back here. All right.
And is estimated to be between $30 and $33 billion to connect.
Look at that. So the original concept said that they could be there by 2020. San Francisco to LA completed for $45 billion. But so far, nothing's been done. Yeah, they build the viaducts and railways and all this other bullshit, thoroughfares and all this crap. And then not one track's been laid yet. And so by early 2030s, they've already going to be spending 30 to 33 billion alone just on this orange portion right here. All right, Bakersfield and Merced, all right, or vice versa, Bakersfield and Merced. So let's think about that for a moment. That's just a third, right? If you break it up, it looks like it's about a third of it. So you're telling me that that 45 billion is probably going to be more like double that, 90, 100 billion. All right, and who knows how far along that's going to be done in the future, because look how long it's taken so far with no track being laid yet. And think about the rest of the way that they're going to be building this thing. Yeah, they really dropped the ball on this thing. They failed on the planning aspect. The planners should be fired. All right, and be like, let's put this back to the drawing board and make it close. And I know there's going to be some terrain that you can't go through, but there's ways around those particular terrains. If you were to go straight, San Francisco straight to LA, it's not impossible. And even the alternative route of going I-5, which is pretty much a straight roadway, is a better alternative than it is to do this curvy bullshit they're doing here into the Central Valley and then back into LA. What kind of shit is that? You know, so yeah, this is just crap. All right, crapola. And I don't even know what else to say, because look at this.
Bakersfield and Merced. Tony Tinoco, High Speed Rail's Central Valley Deputy Regional Director, tells ABC 10, while there have been difficulties, there is progress.
Out of
what?
The number of structures that we've started, more than 50 of those have been completed.
Okay.
We've actually created more than 15,000 construction jobs.
In 2023, Governor Gavin Newsom appointed an Inspector General for the High Speed Rail Authority. His most recent audits finds the High Speed Rail has reported the project is unlikely to finish on time and is facing a budget shortfall.
What is your response, to the criticism that the Inspector General has found on the High Speed Rail project?
We always look forward to being, partners with the Inspector General. Any other federal and state audits that we've completed, we welcome the opportunity to work with those entities to make sure that we're being transparent.
The project has faced many delays, including lawsuits, while in the process of getting environmentally cleared. In a 2024 business plan report, High Speed Rail says it has faced 4 lawsuits relating to the California Environmental Quality Act, which has contributed to impacting the cost of the project.
It's been no secret that we don't have all of the funding to build this. We've been trying to build as much as possible and as fast as possible with the limited funding that we do have in hand.
California Republican Congressman Kevin Kiley has been an open critic of the project. He's proposed a bill calling for the federal government to stop funding the project.
Yeah,
California's federal transportation dollars should go where it's really needed, towards improving the quality of our roads, alleviating traffic, making our roads safer, or even for regional rail lines that people actually are riding on and it could use a lot of help.
What is the plan if
I'm going with
federal
Kevin
funding
Kiley on
is
this
cut
one.
from the High Speed Rail?
Majority of the funding that we have is from the state. Progress is real. There's no doubt that the structures are being built, construction is ongoing, and impacts are being made.
Here's what funding for the High Speed Rail project looks like. In a 2025 project update, since 2009, more than $6.8 billion in federal funding has been committed to this project. That makes up 23% of the funds, while the state has committed to $22.5 billion, or 77% of the funds. The High Speed Rail Authority also gets 25% of its funding from the state's cap and trade program, designed to limit emissions by creating a market for tradable emissions credits. That funding varies from year to year and could be on the chopping block in years to come. Democratic Senator Dave Cortese has consistently supported the project and has recently authored SB 545. He says $7 billion needs to be acquired by next summer in order for this project to continue. He's waiting for more information from high-speed rail officials before a decision is made on how to go about securing those funds.
I think it'll prove that the investment's worth it, but it'll also they're going to be bugging us to pay for that funding. The state already has many tools that it provides local governments and developers to use.
They're going to try to put it on us to pay that.
Senator Cortese urges Californians to start seeing the project as a stimulus package that will eventually create an economic boost. But the big question remains.
Original plan is from San Francisco to the LA area. When do you think we might see that?
It's all dependent on funding. So it's hard to give a timeline when you don't have all of those dollars in hand.
In Kings County, Jeannie Nguyen, ABC 10.
All right, so Jeannie, I do have a question for you because we know that the High Speed Rail Authority CEO, they spoke at Fresno City College and really had some updates about some of the issues with the project, right?
Yeah, Alex, the authority CEO, Ian Chowdhury, says 119 miles of the rail are under construction, with 50% of that now complete. He did acknowledge the ongoing challenges and setbacks the project has had, especially now that the federal government is threatening to cut off funding. He said the authority is committed to finding additional funds.
Yep, good luck with that.
77% of the money that is spent on this project came from California taxpayers.
Yeah, what a waste.
We do want to continue to look for opportunities to work with the federal government and continue to secure more funding.
As we mentioned in our reporting, $7 billion needs to be made available by next summer for this project to continue. Republican Senator Tony Strickland, who is also the vice chair of the Senate Transportation Committee, tells me he believes if we do come up with that money, it'll be a waste to spend it on this project.
Yeah, fuck that shit.
Digging that hole on the high-speed rail and spend $7 billion here, knowing full well, I want to go on a limb and say this project, as proposed, will never be built.
And Senator Dave Cortese expects a funding update in next month's Senate.
I don't think it would have costed as much to build it in a different path than the way they have it up now. I think that made it cost more because it's really just pushing the route so far out